Lees-Galloway, 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. This is my first opportunity to speak on the Remuneration Authority Amendment Bill, and I haven't been following the debate this afternoon, so I apologise if I traverse, I know it's a shock, but so I apologise if I traverse material that has been traversed by other members previously. Let's be honest about why it is that we find ourselves debating this legislation. It is because the Independent Remuneration Authority, in determining the salary increases that MPs should receive, determined a level that they believed was fair, but was significantly out of kilter with what ordinary New Zealanders have received in terms of pay rises over the last 6 years or so. And we've heard a number of occasions where the Prime Minister has said that in his opinion MPs' pay does not need to rise as much as it has done, and that people would feel aggrieved about the pay increases that MPs get. But that is in the context, I say to the Prime Minister, of ordinary working New Zealanders not getting ahead under his government. Median wages, and I appreciate that the Greens have offered an SOP linking MPs' pay to median wages, because median wages have barely moved under this government, certainly in real terms. Most people who are on the median wage actually in real terms find themselves worse off today than they did 6 years ago. And it's interesting that the government often talks about average wages which are pulled up by those at the very top, getting proportionately very large pay increases, whilst those who are in the middle and on lower incomes not really getting pay increases that allow them to get ahead. And that is why I think this government so studiously avoids talking about the median wage, because if they did, if they actually talked about what ordinary people who are on those middle incomes are getting, then the story would not be nearly as rosy as they make it out to be. But sir, we agree, and we will vote for legislation that perhaps tries to pare back the increases to our salaries to make them align more closely with what ordinary working people get. But we really just don't think the process around this has been all that clever. First of all, as we said, the Prime Minister has been talking about this for years and years and years, and yet suddenly he felt the need to act. And I think the suddenly came along after some polling a couple of weekends ago. The focus groups probably told the Prime Minister that he needed to act, and he needed to act fast. And this is a Prime Minister who is in need of some good news. Let's be honest, it's been a pretty rough start to the year. The Prime Minister was in need of something to demonstrate that he was in touch with the voters. And this one suddenly popped out of the box, and it was going to be debated last week, but after it was tabled, it was discovered that there were a few flaws. The government went back to the drawing board, and they've come back to this this week. Ruth Dyson asks what the flaws were. It's hard to know even where to begin, but I think the fundamental flaw was possibly that we could have ended up with a greater pay rise as a result of the legislation than we originally planned. But there were problems with it, clearly. That's what happens. That's what happens when legislation is drafted after a focus group on a Sunday afternoon and tabled at the beginning of the week, and then the intention is to put it through under urgency. So now we're back here this week, hopefully with an improvement to the legislation. We'll vote for this because we think this is hopefully going to move things in the right direction, but we suspect that we'll be back in the future, and if we do have to come back in the future, we hope that we do this with an appropriate process that actually gives the full machinery of government, all the officials, the opportunity to have input into the drafting of the legislation, and that gives the public the opportunity to offer their thoughts, so that we can actually build a piece of legislation like we do normally. This is why we have the process that we have, so that we can build good, robust, long-lasting legislation that is actually fit for purpose and does the job that it is meant to do. So we are concerned, sir, that we are likely to find ourselves having to come back and to address this issue again in the future. We also have concerns, and I know others have traversed this, sir, around the fact that this links MPs' pay to the public sector. The public sector, actually the group of workers that MPs have the whose pay MPs have the most influence over. I can see that the Speaker is indicating that I am coming close to time.
Yep.
So, sir, I will take my seat, but I look forward to the committee stage.
You will take your seat, yes.